Hey everyone, today we're going to be looking around the Land of Dragons from Kingdom Hearts 2. This is likely the first Disney world most people will visit in this game, unless you choose to go to Beast Castle first, but I don't think most people do that. It's of course based on Disney's Mulan, and I reckon we'll just get straight into this one. It's not a particularly large world, there's only 12 rooms, so this video probably won't be too long. So let's see what we can find. We're starting out here in the Bamboo Grove, which is the first place you visit. A lot of the areas in this world are familiar from the movie as well. And yeah, this is a grove full of bamboo. Another place with bamboo, we saw some in Tarzan before, and now we're seeing some more, but this one doesn't have a boss or anything, it is purely a safe room. The rock behind us is where we saw Mushu's shadow, as it explains to us. If we look out here, we can actually see a destroyed village. This isn't something I'd actually noticed before, I'd never really bothered to look, so that was a cool detail. They've just added a little thing in there to show the destruction of the Huns, I guess. There's even what looks like some crop fields there, although probably burnt out. And we also have the Land of Dragons chest, which is red and gold. Suits the theme of the world, is very much a red and gold theme. That's actually something we saw back in the Red Room in Traverse Town in Cage 1, which is styled off of Mulan and China. The next room is the Encampment. We can see behind us the bamboo grove that we came from, although we walked a little bit of the way before we got here. The rooms in Cage 2 aren't so much directly connected, as I mentioned before. But the Encampment serves as a bit of a hub. When you first come here, you've got to do some missions. And there is some interest in this room as well. Of course, there you see the famous arrow at the top of this pillar. The flags are also moving to indicate there's wind here, which is nice. And the main thing here, I suppose, is this. You can destroy the tents. If you use fire, the tents will blow up. So I guess if you want to go on a bit of a rampage, you can go around destroying this whole place. You can also hit the tents to blow them up, but fire is a lot more effective. And you might also notice you can burn the wooden structures, which turns them black. That's something I didn't realize before making this video. There's not a lot in the background. We can see a river and some hills, and of course the mountain that we're about to ascend. Taking the next path will lead us to the checkpoint, which is a little intersection in the world, and there's 3 different routes that spawn off of it. In front of us we have, I assume it's a gunpowder, fireworks cart sort of thing. When you destroy it, you get some drive orbs. If anyone knows what the writing on the cart says, please let me know, because that'd be quite interesting to find out. But over this way we can see off in the distance is the Imperial Square, but we won't go there just yet. Instead we'll head for the mountain. There's a bit of a stream here, you can see your footprints I guess. I mean, okay, this isn't a very interesting area. It's pretty plain, there's a little waterfall. I found it funny, I was looking on the Cage wiki and it called it like a beautiful waterfall. And I was looking at it like, yeah, real beautiful. Yeah. But anyway, let's go up the mountain trail now. This area is pretty simple, it's just a mountain ascent. You go up through these rocks. When you first come here, you've got to destroy the blockades that are in the way. It's a bunch of brown rocks. There's really not a lot to see here, to be honest. They place some puzzle pieces here for you to like use your abilities on, but that goes for the whole game. The puzzle pieces, of course, are a final mix edition. You can see some countryside down below and a river. Yeah, that's great. Let's move on. The end of the path turns snowy and we get to the village. The village is restored now because I'm at the end of the game and I finished the game, so it gets restored again. We can see our footprints in the snow, which is always nice to see. And yeah, it's a very small, quaint little village. It's nice enough. You can jump on the roof, so there's that. Some pots here. Looking down there, we can actually see what's meant to resemble the mountain path that we just came up, so that's a cool little additional detail they added, I guess. Oh, of course, the village is where most of the NPCs hang out now. Here's some things they have to say. And here's what the village looks like when it's all burnt out earlier on in the game. Ignore the death count at the bottom. I recorded this while I was doing my crit playthrough because I realised I needed to record this as well. Yeah, it's nice when an area changes like this. There's a few in Cage 2, not that many, but there are a few that change like this. So just seeing the development and the fact that at the end of the game you can come back and it's restored again, I do think that's quite nice. Right next to the village we have the village cave. Not a whole lot in here, we've got some more exploding objects. And this little shrine at the end here. I believe this area is new to Kingdom Hearts and wasn't in the film, but I'm not completely sure. But we can see some incense candles, some sticks, a shrine of peace apparently. Up there's another one smoking away. That's kind of cool, I like these little details, but otherwise not a whole lot in here. I do like this little blue flame though. Oh, and the ceiling is one of those big voids, a little bit creepy. Then we get to the mountain ridge, which is exactly what you think it is. There's a good view of the Imperial Square down there. So I guess we've kind of come around the mountain a bit to the other side. Oh, that's a little bit interesting. A little bit. We also have the Ride the Wind, of course, but they're not really that useful here other than to collect a puzzle piece. Their biggest use is for the second visit boss, really. This all leads to the summit, a classic location where Shan-yu ambushes us, and yeah, it's a round area with snow. It's quite cool looking at the mountain. I do like the art and how the mountain's designed and how it just looks huge and you're in a small area. Yeah, the mountain has been created well, I'll give them that for sure. One little detail I like is the blue ice behind the snow that's obviously been dislodged by Mulan, so I think that's kind of cool. But really now it's time to head back down and go to the final areas of this world. First up we have the Imperial Square. There's a couple forced fights here, and then it's also home to the final boss of this area, the Storm Rider. It definitely feels like a boss arena. It's very empty, nothing to get in your way. We've got the winds still here, which you do use in the boss, but yeah, otherwise there's nothing here again. It's very empty, which I guess makes sense for this area, but still. Also, when I was a kid, I always thought when you come here to fight the boss, it felt like it was just outside the gate, but of course it is this room. It just always felt like it was in the bigger part for some reason. I don't know why I always felt that, but yeah, it was just a weird thing when I was a kid. The palace does look very grand, at least. Oh, and did you notice there's little candles inside the holes in the bridge here? And then the palace gate where we fight Shan-yu. You just about to see a little blue thing up there, just a little bit of art up there, which is nice, I guess. A couple of statues on either side, Chinese lanterns, very ornate, looks very cool. Kind of wish we could go see more of it, to be honest. Like, imagine if we could go see more of the palace on the second visit and go into some rooms that are just optional rooms with treasure and stuff. You know, just thinking about it, if KH2 had wanted to do that instead, but it didn't. It didn't really follow that much from KH1, as we all know. But I do like the textures and the design work here. Yeah, inside the antechamber, pretty much the same story. Like, I do wonder, why couldn't we have gone from the top, since in the second visit they shimmy up the pillars and then they drop down here? Like, well, what if we could actually do that? What if we actually were up there and we dropped down? What if these doors weren't locked? I don't know, just a bit of a missed opportunity, I think. And then we have one of the coolest rooms in this world, and that's the throne room. There's a bunch of chests here, as you'd expect. Seems like the Emperor doesn't really mind us just taking this stuff in the chests, though. We just do it, and he's like, yeah, sure. Maybe it's a reward for what we've done. It's a pretty cool, grand room. I like the posters hanging down. I like the lights. The ceiling's really high. The pillars are cool. Yeah, it's a nicely designed room. It looks good. I was also informed that, apparently, according to modders, this is the room with the most objects in Cage 2. I guess because of all the chests. And I can probably believe that because I remember back in the day seeing these hacked fights where there are loads of enemies, and quite often they were in this room. So I figure they replaced the enemies with chests, and yeah, I guess that makes sense. Oh, and that observation, among others, was pointed out to me in Twitch chat. Just a little plug there in case you're interested. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm sure you can probably tell from my slightly sarcastic and maybe disinterested tone in some things that I'm not a particular fan of this world. It is one of my least favorites. It's not so much that it's small or anything, but it's just very empty. There's not a lot here. Even by KH2 standards, there's just some big empty rooms, some small empty rooms as well. Not really that much in terms of mechanics. Yeah, blow up the tents, ride the wind. Sure, it all makes sense from Mulan. The enemy design's pretty good, but the final mix of recolor is kind of messed up, but that's a topic for a different video. Oh, as usual, the music is very good as well. That goes for most of KH2. I think the music in this world is one that actually benefited from the HD remix, especially the combat theme, which seems to have a lot more power behind it now. And all in all, it's just a bit forgettable, right? It's just, when you come back here, it just feels like something you get through. It's not exactly the finest example of a Disney world in Kingdom Hearts. There were some cool little details here and there, but otherwise it's a bit sparse. And the palace is the only area that visually I really like. The mountain is cool, but most of the mountain is that sort of rocky brown texture, and that's not so cool, that's a bit boring. I just wish they'd done more with the palace, because I feel like there could have been some interesting stuff here. Little rooms we could go in, and just little routes we could go through. It is what it is. And that's the Land of Dragons explored. I hope at least there was something interesting here. And of course, if you have anything you'd like to say about the world, anything you know about it, any details, feel free to point them out in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.